And welcome to the Dave K Show. I'm David K. Gyro, and it's a pleasure to have you guys with us once again on this beautiful Friday afternoon. And we have my beautiful co-host, Datha Bure. How you doing, Datha?
Doing good. How are you, Dave?
I'm doing excellent. You're looking great, as always.
Oh, thank you, Dave.
Yes. What is your secret?
Oh, my gosh. I don't know.
Wow. I don't know. Let me know when you find out. All right.
Lots of face wash, a little bit of makeup,
Right.
a lot of makeup.
You don't have to try. It's effortless.
Thank you.
So we have a great show today, of course. So we have a very special guest today, as we always do. And I like to try to keep up with the times and whatever's currently going on in the news, try to get these people out here and talk about what's going on.
Absolutely.
And not only just have a guest on the show, but maybe find out how we can help people out through our guests and through their stories, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Right. And so before we get started, we want to put a plug out to who?
PointComputerReporter.com. Y'all check it out. It has got some awesome stuff.
Yes.
Got good news, media outlets, all this good stuff. And then you got Point Computer Banner. Yeah, we like the banner.
Yes.
Got good gossip, too. Great news.
That's correct.
Color photos. I can't get over that.
Yes, we have some new leadership and some new people who are taking over with John DuPont and Melissa Harris, some good people out there.
Yep.
I also want to put a plug in for the West Side Journal.
Oh, yeah, West Side Journal,
West
too.
Side
y'all.
Journal, too, because they're going to probably be interested in what we're doing today.
Right. All
right.
these are fun stuff, y'all. All fun stuff.
It is. It is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So without further ado, we're going to introduce our guest, which is none other than Lieutenant Ken Albarez with the West Baton Rouge Parish Sheriff's Office. Lieutenant Ken, how are you doing?
That's me. I'm good. A little overweight, a little gray hair, but other than that, I'm good.
I feel your pain. I got you. Part of getting older and wiser.
That's right.
Well, it's so good to have you on the show today.
Yeah.
And so what I want to do, first of all, is that you're all over the news right now. This happened about 2 or 3 days ago, so it's still kind of fresh in the news cycle.
Right.
But before we get to what you're here for, I want to kind of talk about your past, like going back a long time. What got you interested in law enforcement?
Sure. So, I don't have any family members that were ever in law enforcement. Just kind of gravitated towards it. I can't pinpoint it. I just felt like I wanted to do something with law enforcement, and a good way to do that is reserve program. Point Computer has one. West Baton Rouge has one. All agencies have some form of reserve program. We have the mounted one, the mounted officers, which is the posse, the flotilla, which is the guys on the water, and then the reserves. And got involved with that some 28, 29 years ago, and just got with a great group of guys that just really taught me a lot. And and quite naturally, if you don't do this for a living, if you're not depending on your paycheck from this, it's kind of hard to take a guy serious, and
Right.
you go back to your job at the plant making a whole lot more money, and and with that said, because police officers don't get paid a whole lot, and no
Right.
first responders do, and at some point I just felt the need. I said, you know what, I want to do this full time, and I was fortunate enough at the time was Sheriff Randall Andre, and he passed away a little while ago. I want to say last year sometimes when he passed away. And he gave me the opportunity, and I can't thank him enough.
Right.
And I was honest with him. I told him, I said, Dave, I looked him in the eye and I told him, I said, Sheriff, I said, if I'm taking someone's slot, I don't want to do that. I said, because I'm going to do this for 4 or 5 years and go back to the real world and do real work.
Right.
Well,
Right.
just so happened, I didn't realize just how impactful I could be on somebody's life. And here I am now, almost 27. I'm in my 27th year
Wow.
as a full-time employee, and I wouldn't do anything else. I couldn't dream of doing anything else.
Right. Yes. Well, you found your calling. That's for sure. I mean,
Yeah.
when you got it, you got it. So congratulations for that. Absolutely.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
And so you started off in the sheriff's office. A lot of people work their way up. They go through the jail. They go
Right.
road deputy, then lieutenant, detective. How'd you work
Right.
your way up the chain?
So I actually, back when I came aboard, you only had 2 people per shift that worked in the jail. So there was no need for me to necessarily start out there, and I started right out on the road. And within, I guess, a couple, 2 or 3 years, there was some talk about, hey, let's start a motorcycle division. And one of my friends, he's retired now, Ronnie Graham, had talked to the sheriff about possibly putting together a motorcycle division. And just because I had ridden them as a child, I got into it, and then I'll be honest with you. So when I went to motor school, it was 1 week. We actually have a motor school going on right now at LSU, and it's 2 weeks.
Wow.
I can tell you the first day of motor school, I put the bike on the kickstand and said, "You guys can have it. It's not going to happen."
Right.
But,
Now, why
it,
is
but
that?
it takes some time. So the whole concept of the motorcycle, the whole time you're fighting the clutch against the brake. And it's a delicate balance, and of course you got to use both halves of your brain, and you're trying to get the throttle just right, the clutch just right.
Right.
It's an 800 pound plus
Jeez,
piece
wow,
of
that's
machinery.
amazing.
You'll never see me on that. I'm too ADD for that. Nope.
Well, I remember seeing you quite a few times on LA Rider, the TV show.
Sure. So I've been on that. We've been featured on that. We have competitions. So they're actually considered a school, a training, and it is. But again, at the end of the day, it's more or less guys competing. And all of the competitions, so yes, you take home a little piece of a plastic trophy, but inevitably the money goes to some type of charity.
Right.
And I've been, from wounded officers, family survivors, COPS. It's a acronym. Concerns of police survivors.
Right.
So we have a competition here in the Baton Rouge area, which will be coming up in the end of October. I'm not sure the exact dates on it. At Lamar Dixon over in
cool.
Gonzales.
Cool.
And it's we raise money for the Dream Day Foundation, which is the St. Jude's Children's Hospital.
Yes.
Such a noble thing.
It is, it
I
really
love
is.
that.
Right. Well, and we've been doing it now. So I want to say this is our 25th, 26th year.
Wow.
So since the
Incredible.
beginning, since I started in motors, this competition actually started out in Galveston, Texas. And a friend of ours, Jimmy Fullen, we said, "Hey, man, let's alternate it every year." And he said, "Look, we did such a great job with it here in the Baton Rouge area. We kind of took it over, and been going strong ever since."
Wow, that's pretty cool. I like that.
Yes, that is incredible. So, are you currently now still stationed as a motorcycle deputy?
So I'm actually in charge of all of the motorcycles. We just recently, Sheriff Kaz, through his leadership, we increased the motorcycles. Started out with 1, then we went to 2, then we went to 3, and so on and so forth. But in total, right now, we're at 6 motorcycles.
6.
Wow.
And I ride a motorcycle every day. I'm out there taking acts. I actually worked 2 wrecks today before I came here.
Oh, goodness.
All right. Wow.
How does that work in the rain?
So in the
Good
rain,
question.
we do
It
have.
is a good question.
Yeah.
It rains a lot.
Yes, it does. We actually, so we're fortunate. We have cars. We generally get older cars, and when it's just a gully washer, I'd say all day event,
Right.
then we'll come out on our cars. But for the most part, we're on the bikes. We do have rain gear, but it's not feasible to work an accident in the rain on a motorcycle, of course. Now, listen, I have friends all over the country, and Fairfax, Virginia, some friends of mine there. Those guys ride their motorcycles 24/7, 365.
Snow too?
Snow.
No,
Actually, they get a sidecar. They get a sidecar,
Yes,
and
indeed.
most of the sidecars they're not even functional.
Wait, you're talking about the little thing that goes on the side of the motorcycle? No.
And it's strictly for stability.
Uh-uh.
So, it's
So
like-
in-
Or the dog. You could always put the dog in it.
We put a dog in there. So in Fairfax County, those guys are the ones that take ultimately the president, the vice president out to Andrews.
Oh, wow.
So they get some interesting stories. But yes, they are actually in sidecars. Now, a lot of our friends, I go to Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Every 5 years they have an anniversary for Harley Davidson. We just got back from there. It was this last year. Those guys there, and of course, they warehouse the bikes. Once the snow starts falling, they go ahead and warehouse them. So
Well, yeah, you don't want that. Have you ever seen Dumb and Dumber?
oh yeah, right.
Yes, that would
Right,
totally
right.
happen to me.
Right, I know, right.
So I wish that I wish that maybe we could warehouse them whenever the heat comes, because July and
Oh, I
August.
know.
Oh, it's so
Right.
hot.
I
It's so
know.
hot.
It is. That's why they don't give you a gun at
All
wildlife
right.
fisheries.
Hey, Dave. I'm a straight shooter,
That's
just
that's
saying.
last show. That's out of your own mouth from the last show. So
And that's because they won't give it to me because I am a straight shooter.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So just make sure you have good
Aim to
hand-to-hand
please.
combat.
That's right. No pun intended.
No, right.
Exactly. Well, that's, so on a motorcycle, will take you a lot of places that, of course, other vehicles can't go. Of course,
That's
right?
true.
So
Right. So when, of course, we have the I-10 bridge. And oh my God, that's a whole nother show.
Oh,
is
goodness.
The I-10 bridge.
I almost want to
And,
buy one just for that
just
driving
for that.
home.
You
drive that thing every day.
Every day.
We, so we are able to access the bridge a lot quicker than the normal units
Intercoastal,
are.
too.
And the intercoastal, absolutely. The intercoastal is. They're going to put a picture of intercoastal on my gravestone.
I think Harley Davidson's
Right.
stock just jumped. I think everybody's going to go buy
Right,
one now to
right.
divert traffic.
They might.
right. So being that every now and then we have a once in a lifetime event in our career that
Sure.
stands out, and that's exactly what happened to you several days ago.
Yep.
That's right.
Take us to that day. What happened?
So, speaking of that Harley Davidson, I was actually in my SUV pulling a trailer. I had to go bring my motorcycle to the Harley Davidson shop. It's a piece of machinery, and they are fabulous pieces of machinery. Every once in a while, they have a small problem. Mine had a little fuel leak, so I dropped it off over there. I'm on my way back, and I'm always conscious of the fact that people behind you, when you come to a sudden stop,
Oh, yeah.
it's not what's in front of you; it's the people behind you.
Right.
Hopefully, they can stop. And I was coming up, and I can't sit here and say I'm not a saint by any means, so I can't say that bad thoughts weren't coming through my mind. The bridge is coming to a stop. I'm like, oh man, here we go again. And then of course I was hoping everybody behind me was stopping, and I had no idea. And I was just fixing to keep the radio to say, hey, is something going on the bridge that I can't see? And we were technically in the city of Baton Rouge. Of course, the center is the dividing line.
Right.
And so traffic came to a complete stop. Well, then it started rolling again. So I'm like, it could have been anything.
Somebody spit out the window. That happens all the time.
Right.
All the time.
And
Right.
so now I'm looking around to see what's going on. And so sure enough, I'm in the center lane. in the far left lane. So I look across to the far right lane and I see a stopped vehicle. I'm saying, oh, there you go. That's the problem.
What time was
Stalled
this about?
vehicle.
So this was around 11 o'clock in the morning. And so, of course, again, the thought came through my mind, wow, I don't need this. And so I was able to hit the lights real quick. But again, I'm pulling an 8-foot trailer. So I'm trying to ease over those next two lanes and also remembering I've got to get this trailer behind me as well because we don't want to cause more problems. So get in behind the van. And again, the first protocol is to call it in. And I wasn't even able to keep the mic, and this lady darted from around the van. And Dave, I've been up there a million times, and when I tell you this lady, she hopped the railing with it was almost like a high hurdler. She jumped it and she was holding on to it and kind of slid. And the picture that everyone's seen that's gone viral is that she planted on her bottom and was holding on to the rail, and of course. I thought I just witnessed someone actually going completely over into
Right.
the
Can you pull
water.
that up on the computer? And
I started screaming at her.
Right.
Not screaming at her to
Right.
insult her. I'm screaming at her to get her attention.
Right.
And that's
what perfect timing that it's happened right whenever you were coming here. This all happened.
Right.
Yeah,
It had to be
absolutely.
fate.
And
Right.
and I explained
Right.
to people, so we get there after the fact. People are hyped up because they've been involved in it, and we don't get hyped up because we're after the fact.
Sure.
But when you actually see it,
Right.
you get hyped up.
Yeah, right,
Exactly.
And
Right, exactly.
so I was actually watching it unfold, and so I was up against the side of the lady's van and walking towards her, and as soon as she realized I was up there, she told me, she said, get back, I'm gonna jump if you don't get back. Oh, wait,
Wow.
we don't want you to do that. And
Right. You could turn your volume lower while you're searching for it on here.
Oh, I did. I muted it.
You can continue. Go ahead.
so anyway, so we actually I was able to I didn't want to startle her, of course.
Right.
So I keyed up my mic, and I knew that I could say certain words like, ma'am, hold on to the rail. You don't need to be on that side of the bridge. And the dispatchers, listen, those guys are remarkable.
yes.
I've said this before, I'll say it
Props to
again.
them.
It goes without saying. If they gave me a choice, you got one choice out of two items. You can have a fabulous dispatcher, or you can have a real big gun. I'm taking a dispatcher every
Right.
time because
Got
I'm
your
praying
back.
that I never have to use that gun.
Right.
But that dispatcher I use every day.
Yes.
Right.
And they're
Exactly
calming. And Dave, you work for Katy Ambulance, and you that calming feeling, that dispatcher
Yes.
on the other end.
Oh, my goodness. It goes a long
It's
way.
priceless.
Yes, it is. See if you can pull that video clip up or still of him while he was on side of the bridge. Yeah. So take us. Continue. There you go.
So they actually they caught on, and I was able to work in that conversation as I'm telling the lady to hold tight, don't do anything drastic. I'm in Baton Rouge, right at the top of the bridge, and of course, I'm out of my jurisdiction, which doesn't stop me from doing what I was ultimately able to do, but nevertheless, it's out of my jurisdiction. So the lady, she was able to. I get phone calls. And it goes through my hearing aids. I can hear.
Oh, that's cool.
Pull that up.
Yes,
Tim, at full
it's-
screen
That is
if you can.
so cool.
Bluetooth is amazing.
Wow.
But so I was able to kind of somewhat get her attention. A Baton Rouge officer came up there, and the picture that's going viral, you can see me leaning over.
Yes.
I didn't start out there. I kept inching towards her. And again, so you don't want to startle someone. You don't want to make them do anything that you don't want them to do, which is
Right.
ultimately go in that water. And so that grate there, that drain, ultimately, when I ultimately grabbed her, I had my foot in that drain because I didn't want to fall.
Right.
Oh, well, yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, so,
Amazing. Wow.
So I just kept talking to her. She was on a cell phone with someone I didn't know, and of course she kept calling him Mark. So I figured it's got to be Mark on the other line. So at some point she was able to. She didn't hand me the phone; she threw me the phone because I
Oh,
couldn't
Mark
get close
must
to
have
her.
been bad.
No, actually, so Mark, and I don't know anything about these people. And again, to this day, I can honestly say that I don't know the young lady's name. And the reason being is, and I don't want to sound insensitive, is because A, it was out of my jurisdiction. B, I just, I did my part. She was in fact pregnant. My wife asked me the other day, did you check on her? And so I'm more than sure that she ended up at the hospital in some type of capacity,
The PEC or something.
of psychiatric type of treatment. And I just didn't feel like it's not my expertise. It's nothing I could do to further the situation. Maybe one day I'll hear a great story about a baby that was born whose mom told him about, there was a time a police officer saved their life, and this kid is doing something incredible with his life or her
Right.
life.
Absolutely.
So that's
absolutely.
what I'm hoping.
So I heard when I read the news article, it said something about like 45 minutes.
Yeah, I saw that.
What was that about?
So we actually, I was trying to engage her and talk to her, and of course delay her. And it's not like a movie or a TV show. You get on the phone and 5 minutes later there's a hostage negotiator. No,
Right.
that's not how it works. And I don't know Baton Rouge's protocol. The city police, and of course they had their members up there, and I'm sure they were doing whatever their protocol is. My protocol at the time was whatever came into my head
Right.
at the
Exactly
time.
right. Yeah, you throw
And,
the book out and do what you got to do.
Absolutely.
Right.
And I kind of hate to admit it, but then I also love to admit it that I'm an expert at not following the rules. Because
Right.
at some point,
Yeah,
it's
street
just
smarts.
like during Katrina. Katrina was a horrendous event,
Right.
and I went down to New Orleans, and these guys, God bless them, the FEMA representatives, and they had a book. I said, "Hey, buddy, listen, this has never happened in modern day history.
Right.
We're launching boats off the side of the I-10.
Right.
There's no rule book for that.
Yes.
Nope.
And and so since this incident, some of the young girls that work in our office, they're sweet as can be, and they ask, they're like, well, is there a class for this that you go through? No,
Right.
it's called on the fly.
On
Right.
the fly.
Yeah, exactly.
I like that.
And listen. So I can't run a football back the whole length of a football field. I no longer can hit a baseball over a fence. I can't shoot a basketball from the 3-point range.
Don't feel bad. I can't do any of that either.
So
Anymore.
I never could.
Right.
I am
Anymore.
fortunate that the good Lord gave me the ability to talk.
Yes.
And
Right.
of course, I had a couple friends that said, man, you talk to me for 45 minutes, I'm jumping. Of
Oh, that
course, they were joking. They were joking.
Mine would probably say that too.
Right, exactly. Love it. And I was thinking earlier when you talked about the hostage negotiators, those guys guys
yeah.
prepare? They go through probably months of training.
Yeah.
Sure.
do that.
That's
My gosh.
serious stuff.
And I'm sure there's some protocol for it.
Yeah.
But again, I was just trying to talk to her. So, getting back to on track. So we were. I got Mark on the phone for a minute, and I said, "Look, first and foremost,
Mark.
The Mark.
Ooh, the Mark.
So I was like, so hey, buddy, what is her name? And again, I'm not being insensitive, and she has a very lengthy name, about 8 syllables.
Wow.
And I was like, huh?
Right.
I was like, Mark, does she have a nickname? No.
Right.
And I was like, huh?
A shorter version, right?
Yeah. And so I just continued to refer to her as ma'am, lady.
You're me.
Yeah,
Hey, you.
yeah. Hey, yes.
That's my thing when I don't know your name. Hey, you.
Yeah,
Nobody ever
and-
knows.
Well, under normal circumstances.
So yeah, you want to
No.
you want to identify with the person. You want to get their name.
Yeah,
Right,
And,
right.
And so and so through the course of that, I actually handed off the phone to one of my guys from the city of Baton Rouge. And listen, I can tell you, there's been times you work for Acadian Ambulance, I work for the sheriff's office. We don't always agree on how something should be handled. Of course, then you got a lot of the people that are involved in this are male. You got testosterone, and somebody wants to be in charge. And and listen, I'm not saying that we've never had, thank God, we've never had any big blow ups. But a lot of times, one group feels they should have handled it a certain way. On this day, everybody worked together.
Perfect.
It
Great.
was so awesome.
amazing.
Nobody cared about a rank or jurisdiction.
Right.
We had one focus, and that was to save this lady's life.
Yes.
And and again, we deal with people all the time, and
Right.
you see someone, and you don't want to assume that someone is either pregnant or someone.
Well,
has
yeah,
some kind
you
of
say
deformity.
something like that, they'll get really mad at you.
Sure, and
Right.
and so I could kind of tell she had a belly, but then and it had all the signs of the hardness, the roundness, and so she did at some point. She said she was pregnant, and and it just I'm thinking of this little human being that's inside this lady's body,
Right.
and I honestly was focusing on her arm, and that's what the thought went through my mind. If I grab her arm now, also the thought went through my mind. If I miss her arm, she's going in the water.
Man,
Yeah, and that wouldn't feel
wow.
very good when she
My
landed.
gosh, man, that's
No,
like you got one shot at it, man.
You got one shot at it. And it's
I would have
Wow.
grabbed her foot.
well, see, that's the problem. So her feet are hanging over, and you see there's no shoes on.
Yeah, I noticed that.
And
Right.
those black pants are sweatpants, and they were kind of baggy.
Yeah.
If we would have grabbed on her, she would have fell out
Yeah,
of
she
them.
would've flew- yeah.
Their top was like a sports bra, and there
You
wasn't
think
much of that.
by now they would set a net under the bridge for people that do stuff
I know,
like
right.
that?
That's a good-
So,
I know, right?
idea.
I'm copywriting that.
so you can do that. I
Save
can-
your life net.
I can tell you what Dr. Sean Wilson is more than likely going to tell you. It's all about money. And I know that's
Yeah.
not, and I'm not putting words in his mouth, but they're going to
Right.
tell you they got bigger fish to fry. And that's
Look at San Francisco
but
Bridge.
you think of how many
Sure,
people
sure,
that
sure,
you
sure.
could save
Yes,
that go
right.
just for broken hearts, and
yeah, no, absolutely.
you just
absolutely.
build, and it's cheap. Put a little net under there, and nobody will
Well,
ever
it's-
see it.
It's not cheap. The,
Well, yeah,
the actual
but-
materials are probably cheap. It's installing.
Installing it,
would
yeah.
be- It would be the cost.
So it'd be a multi-parish effort like West Baton Rouge, East Baton Rouge.
Well, it would just be a state effort
Or a
because
state
it's a
effort.
state. They own the bridge.
Ah, right.
And
Right.
but again, that's I'm sure for another show. And
Right.
but
Interesting, though, interesting.
it was so I was focused on her arm, and then of course at some point. And now, we got multiple people up there, and she turned. Not only did she turn her whole head away from me, but then she turned her eyes as well.
Ah, there you go.
And, so I'm sitting there and I'm screaming at her, top of my lungs, for her to look at me, trying to wave my arms up and down. She would not.
That would have been an opportunity, though.
Well, that was, and that's what I was trying to establish, that she wasn't looking back. So I actually, from my left leg was on the concrete,
Right.
and I kind of started doing my fingers to the Baton Rouge guy, counting down, and he looked at me, and he didn't say anything, but I had a look in his eye like, oh man, that's not a good idea. And that might not have been what he was thinking. Maybe he was thinking, what am I gonna have for lunch? I don't know. But so so I kind of got distracted and I looked back at her, and so I started doing it again to count down. So he'd kind of maybe let him know what I was gonna do. And I think he fully knew that, hey, this guy's going to go, he's going for it. And I, one more time, hollered at her to make sure her head wasn't going to come around her eyes. And when they didn't, I was totally focused on her arm, and I just went for it. I grabbed her, and her buttocks did swing out. She was
going to jump?
Yeah, she was going to go. And then the other guy, he followed suit. He grabbed the other arm. And then from then, it was just a barrage of people reaching over us, trying to grab for her.
Right.
And, and Dave, if I'm being totally honest, I had her arm. I had both hands on her arm, and I wasn't letting go. And thank God some guys that were able to think, they started putting handcuffs on her. And it wasn't to take her to jail.
It was to calm her down and keep her from doing it again.
Well, it was to hold on to her, to have something to hold on to.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
And, the thought going through my mind is like, they're going to handcuff her to me.
Oh, no.
If we go now, we're going together.
Wait, they handcuffed her before they had her over the rail?
Right. Well, so she was on the other side of the rail.
See, I'd have handcuffed her to the rail.
Well,
It was kind of big.
Again, it's big and the cuffs won't fit.
Yeah.
So we ultimately ended up, we did wrap, once we got about 6 handcuffs on her, we had to have a rope.
Wow.
Oh, geez.
At this time we're sweaty and there's nothing to hold on to. And that's great. She actually, once we got her stabilized, we pulled her feet and put shackles and actually changed her to that grate. So everybody could kind of, let go for a second, but nobody ever let go. Nobody let go because we knew what was at stake.
Sure, yeah.
And then we were going to go across the rail and lift her up. But again, I didn't want anybody to risk their life any further.
Right.
We got with the, I was like, hey, look, we got to get the fire department. They've got harnesses. We'll cross this rail. Well, for some reason, nobody had called the fire department.
Oh, really? Come on.
Well,
really?
and again,
Who needs a ladder?
so I was a little focused.
Right.
I was a little focused.
You don't need water.
My checklist, as to where's the fire department. So they were getting those guys en route, and then one of the guys from Acadian, I can't think of his name. He's been around for a long time. Comes up and he says, he wiggled his way down there, and he's face to face with her, and he says, "Hon, we're going to get you across here." And he goes, "Guys, let's go underneath." I said, "Hey, buddy, I don't know if you noticed or not, she's got a big baby in her belly."
Right.
And so he says, no, Ken, we can do it. We can get her across underneath. And I'm like, dude, are you sure? And I guess you guys know more about what the physical body is capable of doing.
Right.
And
Well, she climbed over it, though.
well,
she sure didn't hesitate on that.
She jumped over it, but she wasn't climbing back. So actually, we were able to put her on her back, and we were sliding her through, and that's what was the sticking point, is the baby in her belly.
Right.
And I honestly can say that,
Butter.
well, I got a little upset. I was like, dude, are you kidding me? All this is for naught. She's stuck. And he's like, oh, she's stuck. Let's push her back. I said, no, we're not pushing her back through.
Butter.
No,
You
no.
got to get
Well,
butter on calls
so
like this.
I asked them if they had some type of lubricant on the truck.
Yep, butter.
Yeah.
And he goes,
Close enough.
and he looks, and he goes, and whatever his partner, I don't know his partner's name, he's like, hey, Billy or Bob. And he's like, grab a bag of that saline.
Saline
there you
solution.
go.
I started to
Right,
say
boom,
saline. Oh, so close.
So he cut that bag open, and when I
Come
tell you, he poured it on her
on,
belly.
wow.
She slid like a fish.
Yes, indeed.
Right
Wow,
underneath.
that's amazing.
And it wasn't. So I've been in some stressful situations, and after the fact, you kind of go through a checklist and see, what did you do? How'd you do it? And I didn't realize, but I never let go of her arm. I still had her arm.
Right.
And when they put her on that stretcher, man, it was a very emotional thing. And they were like, hey, Ken, you can let go of her. I was like, no, I
that's
can't.
amazing.
But I, at some
Not
point,
the way she jumps over them rails like that.
So I had to. They had her
Right.
strapped down, and somebody had obviously cuffed her to the stretcher, and so at that point I could actually let go, and
yeah.
she was off on her way to the hospital. And at that point, I could have flown off that bridge because the adrenaline.
Right.
Just,
I
oh
imagine
my God!
so.
It's
Not till they put the net there.
Incredible.
right down till they put the net there.
Right,
The,
exactly.
the feeling
That's
was
incredible.
just, it was just awesome.
Well, man, congratulations!
Yeah,
and
really.
I like what you said in the story. It's like it wasn't just you, but it's a whole team of people who
Right.
made this thing happen.
Absolutely.
And you're representing the whole team today, is what you're doing.
So I hope so, and
Yes.
and I proudly do. And it's like anything, I say law enforcement, fire department. I look at us as a big family. I can talk bad about my brother, my sister. I don't want you to talk bad about them because
Right.
that's not your place.
Exactly.
And look, these guys, look, I am absolutely positive that, the local fire department over in West Baton Rouge, I'm sure that there's some people that work those trucks that say, boy, that Ken Albarez, I don't like him, But at the end of the day, it's we all have the same end result. We want the same end result. We want to help people, and like I said, I look at them all as little brothers and sisters. And I talk bad about them. Don't you talk bad about them?
Right.
And don't you try to correct them. I'll do that. And,
Right.
and I hope that's the way they look at it. That so that we all can. And look, I don't take anything personal. I don't take any of this job personal. People can talk about me and oh my God, I'm not a big internet person, but this thing here is really blown up. It's going viral, and some of
Right.
the things you read on the internet, it doesn't bother me. That picture is not the most flattering.
Right.
My backside is not that wide.
Right.
My head is not actually balding. It's just the way the picture
Right,
came
yeah,
out.
make that- yeah.
And I am 53 years old, and that is white socks I have on with those blue shoes. But
I didn't see that.
well, if you scroll up, you'll see it. But normally, I have some really cool motorcycle boots that are leather, and they go up to my knees.
You need to get the saying on your motorcycle now. I'll never let you go.
Right.
That's good. I
I
like
know.
that.
Right. Well, I can tell you one thing. Your shirt is pressed. It's tucked in your pants. Nice. You look pretty good right here.
Well, I appreciate it. After the fact, I was pretty sweaty. It was pretty hot.
Yeah, I bet it was. I mean, how high was this at the bridge point right here?
So the media, I've seen some reports, 175, 200 feet.
Wow.
It doesn't necessarily matter because it was high. And let me tell you, so this is the thing that people don't know about Ken Albarez. I am extremely scared of heights. I know we're at your studio. We're on the third floor. I'm nervous looking out the window. I can tell you. Oh
Right.
my,
Yeah, we were in a building. We were in a room
The
next door
ants are
earlier.
so cool to look at.
So I'm scared of heights, but at this point you didn't know. And then look, so
Yeah.
a lot of people don't realize, and you go across the bridge every day.
Every day.
So
It's not pleasant half the time.
hopefully you never have the opportunity, but when you're standing on that thing, it bounces.
shakes.
It shakes and bounces.
It
It has
shakes.
to.
Been there, done
Because if
that.
it's not, it will snap in half. But
Right. So you're
yes.
feeling the vibrations
Right.
as you were doing
Oh,
that, right?
absolutely,
Wow,
absolutely.
That's amazing. Golly.
Yeah.
That is incredible. So, of course, like you said, last time you've heard, she got some psychiatric care. She's probably being taken care of right now.
Certainly, as far as I know.
Right. So, we just pray that she has a good outcome and everything works out good for her. And
She's going to name her baby Horace.
Horace. Oh,
That's
yeah,
Horace
right.
Wilkinson Bridge. For those who didn't know, the new bridge is called the Horace
It
Wilkinson.
might be Ken.
That's
Might
right.
be Ken.
No, again, it's, and that's the thing is, people have joked around and said that they're going to name the baby after me, and I don't know, and I just hope it
Right.
works out for her. A baby, wow, they're so innocent, and
She'll find out soon.
Yeah,
As soon as she
yeah.
has it, her whole life
So
will
they said
change.
she's about 7 months pregnant. Is what
so
they're
she
saying?
said at some point she said, or maybe the boyfriend, or I'm assuming
Mark.
Mark. And listen,
Right.
so I'm going to tell
Poor
you,
Mark.
Right.
So apparently, they've had some issues
Who doesn't,
earlier during the
though?
day, right? And
way it works.
but Mark ultimately did arrive on the scene.
Well, look at Mark. It's changing my prospect of him.
Well,
now he's a little
Right,
better.
right, right. Now
Well,
you show
he
up.
showed up
As long as
there
he didn't try to go push her.
and
Right.
I did get a call from the television station, or not a text actually, the television station, that some people were making some comments about Mark online.
Yeah, we
told
can't
him
do that because you don't know nobody's business.
Well, that's what I told him.
Right.
I said, look, buddy, you're going to have to. And then, of course, I actually read some of it, and somebody came to his defense that actually knew him and said he's a great guy. And I don't know him. I hope it works out for he and the young lady. And I just, we're all grown adults. Once you get over the age of 18, the law looks at you as an adult. I say it's till you get about 30, you don't really have an idea what the world's about. When you get 40, you get some more perspective. You get 50, your eyes go, your hearing goes,
Right. Exactly,
everything.
Right. Exactly.
But there's something to be said for gray hair. Wisdom. You get
Yes.
some wisdom.
That's exactly right. Gray hair or no hair.
That's
or,
right.
Or a little gray hair. Right. Exactly. All right. Well, that's great. So what I want to do is, like I said earlier, I want to take an opportunity opportunity to shed light on the depression and the suicide issue and everything. And probably working for Acadian Ambulance, I'm gonna say probably 30% of the calls that I run are psychiatric patients going from one hospital to another for treatment. It's a big thing right now. We even have psychiatric protocols in our transport protocols and everything. Certain ways we do things. So, Dave, if you don't mind, look up real quick. Just look up suicide prevention tips. We're going to go over a few little tips for anybody that's out there listening. Hey, look, if you're listening or watching the podcast right now and you're not suicidal, you may know somebody that's suicidal.
Correct.
And you may be able to reach out. In fact, I'll be willing to bet that everybody out there will probably know somebody down the line somewhere, 6 degrees of separation, that's been suicidal at one time or another.
Sure, absolutely.
Suicide.
And there's some great churches. I don't care what denomination you
Oh,
are,
yeah,
what
for
faith
sure.
you
Yes,
are.
yes, absolutely.
Those guys will absolutely
Probably
talk
the
to
best
you.
you can do.
Listen,
Absolutely.
If you and look, we have people. And Dave, 911. I'm not advocating to top the 911 lines, but listen, those guys will put you in the right direction. They will they'll get you over to the crisis hotline.
Yes, they will.
And we have people all the time. They call us 911. They call 911. Look, I'm trying to find the closest Burger King. What?
Wow, right.
So
Right.
so I'm not advocating to necessarily, but if it all fails, listen, we don't want anybody to do this. And so in the state of Louisiana, suicide's actually a crime.
Is it really?
Yes, it's a crime. You can't.
How are you
kill
going to
yourself.
convict somebody if you're dead?
Well, exactly. That's
Right.
the point.
I
But
said attempted
but
suicide,
so
maybe.
attempted suicide, I think you
Wow.
can have some charges drawn up against you.
Interesting.
But
Probably because you're putting other people at risk
well,
sometimes.
you put other people at risk, and
I can see that.
and you don't want to.
Right.
Nothing is so bad. Nothing is so bad in your life, and it's horrible when you see especially a young person that ends up taking their life, and that's horrible.
Right, that's the
Well,
ultimate.
people's got to realize that tomorrow is another day and things change.
So I tell people this all
Yes.
the time.
Yes.
I am on a certain walk with God, and
Yes.
and I am on a quest. I am reading the Bible from the front to the back.
Me
Excellent.
too.
Are you really?
I'm still in
Mine's-
Genesis.
Good
I'm
job.
so confused.
So, well,
you got to get
it
the
gets-
Lego Bible.
It gets better. No, you got to get the.
It's a real one. It's
I'm
just
in Romans,
pictures.
which is towards the end, and so
Oh, you're far.
in Matthew,
Yeah, he's not
Matthew
playing.
6:34.
Yep.
If you read it,
Write that down, Matthew 6:34.
Matthew 6:34.
in
It
the
says,
scriptures, Matthew.
"Worry about today's troubles today, for tomorrow brings a whole other set of troubles."
I think Tim told me the same thing.
So
Good,
it's
good.
it's
Good
it's
stuff.
something sticks. Everybody sees on John 3:16. For God
So loved
gave
the
the world
world,
his only begotten Son. And people see that because it's on every football stadium.
that
Somebody
and
has that.
it's got a
Right.
country song.
Yeah,
Right.
there you go. Now it's got a country song.
Right.
So that's the way I look at it is, hey, so worry about today's troubles today, and tomorrow, worry about those tomorrow. You
Yes.
can't do anything about it, and it will get better.
That's
And
the little boy's name.
what?
Matthew.
Matthew could be.
Ah.
That
That
is a
could be.
good name. If she's
That's awesome.
listening,
How
name
cool
her
is that?
Matthew.
How cool
That
is
could
that?
be. That
How
could
cool.
What
be.
a saying. She'd have
I
a
know.
story to tell her grandkids for
Yeah.
that.
You would.
What?
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
You absolutely would.
That is so cool.
I like
Absolutely
that.
would.
But
That's
yeah,
awesome.
I'm with you because we're active in our church too, and all our boys play music on the team and everything.
Absolutely.
And,
Oh, wow,
What
okay.
better place to go whenever you're at the lowest point in your life? Find a good church in your neighborhood.
Yep.
Absolutely.
And call it. And for people that may not want to go that route, like the suicide prevention hotline is a number that you can call too. So Datha, go ahead and give that number out too. The suicide prevention hotline.
Oh, it's the National Suicide Prevention
Right. If anybody's-
Lifeline is what they call it.
Yes, go ahead.
It's 1-800-273-8255.
Yep.
1-800-273-8255.
Yes, and I'll preface that too by saying that I started out a long time ago dispatching for the Point P Sheriff's Office,
Okay.
and I dispatched for another little small ambulance service after that. So I had people calling me up sometimes just wanting to talk to somebody.
Oh, yeah. And that's
And,
probably all somebody just needs somebody.
Right. They call 911 just to talk to somebody. And back then, it was a small ambulance service. It wasn't really that busy, so I just talked to the person. I talked to
Sure,
the girl.
absolutely.
So, yeah.
You have a soothing voice, Dave. You really do.
Right.
I've had the opportunity to. I am the spokesperson when it comes to traffic stuff for the sheriff's office.
Okay.
There's other people in other aspects, and I hate my voice. To hear it recorded, I think I sound horrible.
Right. No, you sound good. No,
You sound like
good.
me. I
Yeah.
don't care for mine either.
You sound good. How they say it, some people have a voice for radio. People that don't look too good have a voice for radio.
Some people have a face for radio.
Right, exactly.
Well, these days it is.
Right, exactly. our voice for television.
So
That's
when
right.
you do the traffic radio, what do you do with that? You just tell people traffic, because that's got to be a 24-hour event.
So what's that now?
Traffic reports and stuff.
Oh, the traffic report. So, so we, in my capacity, we get all the accidents that come through West Baton Rouge Parish. They go through us. And then, of course, now everything's online and people can do those kind of things. So is that what you're referring to, like reports and stuff for traffic?
Yeah,
stuff?
that's what y'all do?
Yes.
That's got to be a 24-hour job.
Oh, it is. And so the interstate, in West Baton Rouge, so it runs, the I-10 runs from coast to coast, from the Atlantic Ocean to the Pacific Ocean. And and that's one thing that we can do. I had a congressman, a senator, a state senator, a state rep one year. We had an accident with like 18-wheelers. I was watching it happen. It was overpass at 4:15.
I remember that.
And I'm watching it happen, and I'm like, so I got on the radio. I said, headquarters, get every wrecker in this parish, tell them head out here. And so we start pulling stuff apart and moving it and just separating it so we could open the traffic up. And this particular state senator or rep, he called the sheriff and he says, "Look, I want those guys to come up to the state capitol, and we gotta let these guys talk to the legislative body and find out how they do this." I said, "Well, that's simple. We can do that." And the sheriff, said, "No problem. Now, you're not gonna say anything crazy." I said, "No. We use common sense." And these days, common sense isn't very common.
Exactly.
And,
That's my favorite
you
saying.
just have to use common sense. Again, it's the thing back in Katrina. At some point, the rules have to go out the window. Now, listen, I'm not advocating, a lawless society. We have laws. But at some point, you have to use common sense. You got to use common sense.
We'll say the rule book is just guidelines.
So that's right. The rule book
Right.
is a guideline.
Exactly.
Yep.
So
Exactly.
we try to do what we can.
Right.
I liken it to our protocols with Acadian because we have a protocol for anything that you can imagine, but they have prefaced it by saying protocols are only guidelines.
Okay.
And you're free to vary from those protocols.
Look
as
at me
needed.
hitting the nail on the head with
So
that
there you go.
one.
I like
Go
it.
ahead.
I like
You got
it.
it. That's right. So,
Here at Wildlife and Fisheries, we just go.
right.
We go with it when the animals get
you can go with it.
herd.
right.
Illegal shooters. We just
That's
go with it.
a whole other branch of law enforcement right there that y'all are doing a good job on too, for sure. We have
Not
Mason.
me. I ain't out there. I wish I was.
Well, you're representing a lot of wildlife and fisheries too.
I would
So,
be
yeah,
a
don't-
bad wildlife agent.
So don't ever to consider what you do not important,
Yes.
because we got to have people behind the scenes that back up guys like me. Hey,
Absolutely.
listen. So and over the last several days, I've gotten texts from friends all over the country, all over the state, different levels, from the guy at the bottom to the guy at the top, have called me and congratulated me. And like I try to tell them, look, it's nothing that I think any other human being wouldn't have done it.
Yes.
Thank God I was able to do it. I was put in that particular place. My pastor sent me a text, and I told him, I said, look, it was all God.
Yes, it was. Right.
He used my hands and my feet.
Yes,
but
nothing
it
but.
was all God. And I just look.
believe it.
I
It was
firmly
meant- it was
believe
meant to be.
Right.
That's right. I firmly believe that. And again, God puts us in positions. So and listen, I don't tell you this to get a pat on the back. It happens. It's factual. It happened. So that same day, that evening, I'm on my way home. How much higher can you get? And so I'm on my way home. They give one of the road guys a call about a guy knocking on doors at the Love's truck stop on 415.
Oh, goodness.
He's bothering truck drivers. So, okay. So, hey, listen, I'm right here. I'm getting off the interstate. Don't send a guy from over there. Pull up, and this guy's in the parking lot, and white male, black hat, description. I've got him. I roll down the window. I got my hand on my gun because I don't know.
Was he thirsty?
He looked at me, and with the most conviction I've ever seen someone say, he looked in my eyes and he says, "I'm hungry." And he
I
didn't
knew
say-
he was close to
He
that.
didn't say,
Right, yeah,
he didn't
thirsty,
say
thirsty.
"I'm hungry, I'm sorry." He didn't say "I'm hungry" and "oops, I'll move on." He looked at me and said, "I'm hungry," and he almost was with the conviction that you need to get me something to eat. And I said,
Wow.
I can fix that.
Wow.
I went to Burger King and got him a number one, which is a
Wow.
Whopper with fries and a large
Right.
Coke.
Did you tell him, say,
Awesome.
next time, think about getting a job at Burger King, because you could eat over there and you can get a good living
So you
started.
can, and some of these people, and I think that possibly he had a mental issue, and that's what we're
Right.
ultimately
That
talking about.
happens.
If they were hiring.
Yeah.
And you can't imagine
Right.
how much mental. And listen, a lot of people think, a lot of lay people think that, so if we can run across crazy people, we put them in the back of our car, put them in the back of our ambulance, and we drop them off at room 606 at Lady Lake. No, that's not how it works. There is nothing. There's jail. Which is not a place for these people. And so the sheriffs and the chiefs and the legislators, they've been talking about it. And I know in East Baton Rouge, they just got some monies. They got a center they're opening up, and that's a whole nother show.
Right.
But this particular guy, I got him a hamburger, and so I did. Honestly, I looked up and I was
awesome.
like, so God, okay, listen, we're good on the test today. Right. But no, seriously though, look, if God wants to continue using me and testing me, I'm all aboard.
Awesome. He might have been an angel unawares too.
That dude could have probably did a good job doing something.
Yes. So,
I don't know. I don't.
Well, I mean,
I think everybody has their own abilities.
Once you fed him, though, he's probably good to go for a while.
Well, and I'm assuming. So when I actually pulled back up, he had actually a truck driver. I said, dude, I thought I told you to quit knocking on people's doors. He said, I was hungry. I didn't know if he was coming back. I told you I was coming back. Right. Somebody gave him a can of soup, and so he was. I think he's good to go. And I hope again. I hope he. And we could go on. Look, there's not enough time in a day. I could tell you story after story about tragic events and people's lives. Just a week before, we had a truck driver. He had been talking to his wife on the phone. He went up to that bridge, and she was scared he was going to jump. I actually found him about a mile away. He's like, "No, man, look, I did. I walked up there. Never thought about jumping off."
Wow.
Yeah, but you walked up there.
But he did walk up there, and I will say this: so it is against the law to walk on I-10.
I guess
whether you're on the
so.
shoulder of the road, it's a federal law. You can't walk across that bridge.
Well, yeah, that bridge is the walkway is too narrow anyway.
Well, that and
against the law.
It's dangerous.
Yeah. Very.
So it's not against the law. I don't advocate it, but it's not against the law to walk across the U.S. Highway 190 bridge.
Really?
It's a
Because
US
I would
highway.
think that would be one too, considering how narrow it is, except for the railroad track in the middle.
Well,
but-
so you have if you're bicycling across the U.S., which a lot of people do to raise money, awareness, and they go across the 190 bridge. It's a little less dangerous.
I wouldn't do it.
No, I
Oh,
wouldn't.
I've seen people
No.
drive that bridge. No,
Right.
no,
No,
Oh,
I wouldn't
no.
either. I wouldn't either.
No.
Right, but a lot of people do, though. They
Sure
do.
they do.
I know. Oh no.
And it's not the only bridge they cross. They cross multiple bridges across the nation too.
Yeah, but this is Louisiana. This is Baton Rouge
Right,
we're
that's
talking
true.
about.
That's
Traffic
true.
hub of the world.
We're
Yes.
first and everything.
Yes, it
That's
is.
first.
Yes, it is.
If
Right.
you're gonna get hit on a bike on a bridge, that one's the one to do it.
That's the one.
Right.
That's the one. There's no shoulders.
Exactly.
I used to drive that bridge every day too.
Did you really?
I did. I used to work at motor vehicles.
Oh wow, yeah. No, that's a whole nother story too. That's another show.
Yeah, real ain't that though.
Right. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
amazing. So, okay, we're gonna wrap it up pretty soon. Timmy, what's our time looking like?
47.
Oh, really? 47 minutes. What I want to do is let's get back to more of the suicidal thing, the prevention thing. We'll just talk. If anybody's out there that's listening to this podcast right now, just kind of talk to them and address them and tell them, hey, look, all is not lost. There is help out there. You're not at the end of your rope.
Absolutely. So if anybody thinks that they are totally alone in this world, you're not. There's a billion people, a couple billion people. I don't know the exact number, the total population, but no one is alone. And listen, anybody that. And I'm not going to argue the point with anybody, but anybody that thinks that the Big Bang Theory, it's not. The Big Bang, his name is God.
Yes.
And God created every one of us. And I truly believe that, we talked about the Bible. God says that he knows every hair on our head. So God cares about you. God does not want you to commit suicide. A lot of religions, and that's where we get messed up is religion. Religion can mess up anything. But a lot of religions won't have anything to do with you if you commit suicide. It's a horrendous
shun
thing.
against you for it.
Yeah, and you can think
Right.
you're low. And look, I understand there's a lot of it's a mental factor, and and then of course drugs play a role in it,
Right.
and we see it all the time.
Right. True.
And but I would just say to anybody that is even slightly thinking about it, you just can't imagine the amount of people that really are concerned about you, that care about you. Again, if it all fails, just call 911. There's going to be an operator on there, I promise you, and they're going to reroute you to someone. I just can't fathom any of the agencies around here and the greater Baton Rouge area that wouldn't just they have someone that'll talk to you.
Right.
Yes, 24/7.
They will talk to you. Absolutely.
Exactly right.
You could always pray.
Absolutely.
That's true too.
Prayer is the
That's-
answer to
that's never a
everything
bad answer.
anyway.
Prayer is absolutely the answer
Yes,
to
exactly.
everything.
And I know a lot of people that I've dealt with in the past, because I used to work for the coroner's office for 6 years, and of course, with the coroner's office, that's probably over half of what you deal with is psychiatric patients and the deaths of the rest.
Sure.
So the problems with suicide and the causes of suicide that people actually do it range from the spectrum of like I'm going to get at my boyfriend, so I'm going to kill myself.
Right,
It's
right.
purely selfish reasons.
Sure.
To the other end of the spectrum where they're taking these prescription drugs,
Right.
which when you read the insert, it says will cause suicidal ideation.
Sure.
So these serotonin reuptake inhibitors will cause suicidal ideation.
And that's probably half people's problem is the stuff that they're
Our
taking.
society is pumped up on these drugs, and so that has a lot to do with suicides. It's like it's a chemical imbalance in your brain.
Mm-hmm.
Right, right.
So-
and you know, and look, death is pretty permanent. I mean,
Yes, it is.
It's pretty permanent.
Yes, it is.
So you know, you can't take it back once you go. Once you decide to cross that line, it's final. And you know, in
Oh,
this
yeah.
this incident here with the bridge, you know, I've heard stories that if that they've done autopsies on people. Of course, they want to find out, you know, why.
Mm-hmm.
And they've actually done autopsies where it said they didn't die from the impact. They died because their heart exploded because
Wow.
that much adrenaline. It's so obvious what's happened to you just now, and it pumps all that blood into your heart, and then you actually have a heart attack.
Oh, that
before you hit
sounds
the
very
water.
painful.
No, it's
I don't
very
think
painful.
so.
I would think
Wow.
it's painful. I would think it's painful, and I just, you know, so there's nothing. I promise you, it doesn't matter what you're going through. I promise you, somebody else is having a worse day than
Oh,
you're having.
absolutely.
Yes. Right.
Like I said, tomorrow's
exactly.
another day.
Tomorrow's not Matthew 6:34.
Yes, I love it. Matthew 6:34.
I gotta read Matthew. I hadn't got there yet.
So
I'm
right,
still-
and listen, don't skip around.
no, I'm not.
know,
I want to know the beginning to the end.
Right, go through the painstaking process of going all the way through the end.
Well, I bought Breeze a Lego Bible, and
Tell
I was
him-
telling
tell
him
him- tell
about
him what
it.
the Lego Bible
okay,
is.
it's
It's
the
pretty
new
interesting.
version of the King James.
Okay.
Everything is up to date. You understand it,
Right.
except it's Lego cartoons.
Wow.
Love it, and I've
Using
read
those
it.
scriptures, using
Read
scriptures.
everything is word for word. It doesn't do every single scripture in the Bible because it's got to break it down for kids, right?
Sure, right.
But I've read it through my Bible on my phone, and I've read it through his books, and it is word for word.
Wow.
So I've gotten
That is
through
so
right
cool.
now. If you read that Bible, I'm
Lego
on
Bible.
Judges. Love it.
So,
That sounds gonna go
what's the
on.
deal with the whole Lego concept? How come they do that for the kids?
For the kids, because the Lego movies are out,
Sure,
so
sure.
they're making all the Lego characters Bible characters now, and it's so cool. Well, we skipped to Revelations, me and Riley, and I'm gonna tell you, the Legos and Revelations scared the crap out of me, and it's
Right.
still scary even though it's
Well,
a cartoon.
so I don't want
but
to.
they're real Lego pieces.
I don't want to skip, and I'm not going to skip to the end of the book. And
I didn't want to either, but she asked me a question.
So I actually started several books, and I'm not I don't want to use a fancy word. I'm not a real good reader.
Me either.
It takes me a while.
I got to read it three
Yeah.
or four times,
and,
and those
slowly.
names.
Right.
Oh.
Right.
So I usually just kind of wing it and kind of make up a name when I can't
too.
actually say it.
Me
And
too.
it makes it easier, and you can continue on. But
Laura
it's-
won't cast judgment on
book,
that.
The book is amazing, and you know, I'm not going to say every day. I try to every day to try
Right.
and read a little bit, and you know, and not every day does something really stick.
Right.
And a while back I was reading, and it said, and then God remembered. I'm like, wait, what's it say? God, don't forget that God did it. God is the one who created it.
Right.
And so I had to call my pastor. I was like, hey, pastor, what God forgot. God goes, I'm missing something. What did I do with them sandals? No, God didn't. And he said, well, maybe the author, the best way he could explain
it.
it.
Make him
is,
more
You know,
human.
make it make him more
Right.
human. And God is not human. He is actually superhuman.
Right.
He is God. And,
But to get him more down to earth.
but anybody, and that's the thing. That is, I firmly believe it. You know, I was talking to a buddy of mine, more of an acquaintance, I would say, and he's Muslim. Okay, listen, people believe that's the same God.
Right.
God is God. There's
But
no
there's
other
Allah.
God. Well, but
That's
it's
just the
God.
name they call
it's
it.
a name, but the only sticking point is Jesus, his
Right.
son. The Jewish faith, the Muslim faith, and the Christian
Right,
faith.
back to Abraham,
Jesus is the sticking point.
Right.
And and he told me he was like God is God, and I was like, wow. That's it. God
Right.
is God. There's only one God.
Right.
There's not a God of the sun. There's not a God of the trees. There's the God who created all those.
Right.
Yes.
And
He's a good guy too.
But you can just absolutely, like you said, you can always get on. Yeah, you don't necessarily have to get on your knees. I think it may help.
I think one-on-one personal is. I like laying in bed praying,
Yeah.
mowing the grass praying.
Right.
I asked for a sign the
Sure.
other day when I was
Right.
mowing the grass, and people are going to think I'm crazy for this, but sometimes
No,
that's what
not
you
at
have
all.
to do.
Yep.
And within 5 seconds, a snake slithers from the
Come
lawn,
on.
which
Oh,
I
wow.
thought I ran over that poor
Wow.
snake.
Oh, wow.
The problem with this sign that I've received is I don't know if it's a good sign or a bad sign. So I text my mom a picture of the snake, and I'm like, Mom, what? Look, my new pet. I'm freaking out. It's cottonmouth. It's going to kill me, right? In other words, that's a bad sign.
Right.
Let it go.
That's
Right.
a bad sign.
So she texts me back. She says, "It's good luck. Keep it."
What?
Well, there's my answer. So now I got to
Keep
figure
a
out.
snake.
It's a king snake.
Oh,
Okay.
wow.
So his
It's a
name is
Kingsley.
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 But he was a baby. He was a sign.
Right.
Asked for a
Right.
sign. Got a sign.
How long was he? Like he was like a
He
baby
was a little
snake?
baby.
Okay.
He was little, tiny. I chased him because I thought I ran over him with the lawnmower. I was getting a little paranoid because I didn't want to hurt him. Even if he was going to kill me, I wasn't going to hurt him.
All right.
I would just run real fast.
So that absolutely is
But
a
you asked
sign.
for a sign.
Right.
And then my
No,
mom
That is
texts me
interesting.
back, he's a good snake. He's good luck. Keep him.
That
So I
is-
guess I have to
Wow.
keep my sign.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, that's
But
awesome.
on that note, me and Tim, my boyfriend, have been reading up on the Bible, and we kind of like talking about it. But he's skipped. And he was reading Matthew's. He was on the next one. Was it Romans the next one? No, Mark. Mark's the next one.
So Matthew,
Matthew,
Mark.
Yeah, so he's on Mark now, and he said they were a lot like the same. But I told him, I said, I can't do it. I have
You
to
gotta
read it
go-
from the beginning to the end
Right.
to understand.
Right.
I don't want to just skip.
And I was kind of skeptical about the Old Testament because it is a little
It's
hard.
scary.
It's hard.
It's
hard.
very hard.
Well, it's just, you got to put it into perspective, and that's what I do. And I'm
lot
gonna
of
tell you-
killing.
And I'm gonna tell you what got me is, and I don't know if you ever read, David, if you ever read the Bible from the beginning to the end.
Almost, not
but
quite.
The
Almost.
beginning, in Genesis when they talk about the guy who so it's technically his uncle, and he's gonna go work
I
for him
know.
for 7 years just to marry his daughter for free.
I know.
And then he gets tricked, and then he marries another 7 years to marry the other daughter.
Right.
It's crazy.
And I was like, man, I got to anybody that goes through this kind of
Right.
punishment.
Mine is Numbers and Judges.
Yeah, numbers and judges.
Okay, he creates these leaders. 80 years, some longer than that. They rule the countries, get everybody into straightness. Then they die, and everybody goes back to being bad.
So the
So
good
he
kings-
kills them all off.
Good kings and the bad kings.
Yeah, so he does this like over and over and over
Right.
and over again. And it's like the poor guy, I feel so sorry for him because he really wants things to work, but humans are flawed. Let's face it.
Absolutely. And the one thing that gets me is the message I got is how many chances God
Do
gives
we
us.
get?
Right.
And obviously, we're on our last chance.
and we keep messing it up.
You know what bugs me? Revelation means to see. You have the future right there in the book. You
Right.
are meant to see it, but yet nobody wants to change
Right. We
what the
talked about that the other
outcome
day.
is.
You're
And
right.
if you would just read it, all the signs are there. You can fix it before it happens
Sure.
if you would just read it.
Right.
Revelation means to see.
Right.
That
right.
is
He
cool.
wants you to see.
Yes.
So if I go national, I guess I'm going to have to be a spokesman for Revelation.
Yeah, it's interesting though.
We're going to save the world. It does not have to end that way. I'm sorry. It does not have to.
So I hope that there was people out there that today that actually saw this show, and I hope that they tag it or whatever the terminology
Yep,
is,
exactly.
send it on to someone else, and someone
Yes,
else
share it,
sees
like it and share it.
Yeah.
And I hope that we enlighten someone, that someone got the message and
Hope so,
said,
too.
hey, listen, this is something that maybe I need to pass it on. And look, all you need is one person. You help-
That's it. Just
you
one
help one
person.
person.
Exactly. And that's the whole thing about seeing the good that can come out of the bad.
Mm-hmm.
The bad, what good can come out of this?
Right.
Somebody else might be able to be saved from committing suicide from this
Absolutely.
incident that happened right here. So
Yep.
and I think it will happen. I think so.
Or he's going to be a cool kid. His name's going to be Matthew. I
Yeah,
just know
Matthew.
this.
How cool is that? That is amazing.
That would be awesome. That would be
That
awesome.
would be.
Well, okay, this is my homework assignment because we always like to put little things on the wall for our guests. we're gonna make a special little Matthew 6:34 little plaque.
We need to put a Lego on it.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah, do that
We'll put a
too.
Lego
Yeah,
on
it.
exactly, right. Exactly.
Yeah, Barnes and Nobles, Books a Million. It is the Lego Bible, peeps. Y'all have got to get it. I love
Right.
it.
Well, okay, so Timmy tells me we got about 3 minutes left, so we're almost done. So what I want to do before we shut the show down is Timmy or whoever, if y'all can go we got something to present to Lieutenant here.
There's a picture frame somewhere with a picture in it.
We got something very special to present to you.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I didn't realize I was getting gifts.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
It should be the one with the black picture in it, Timmy.
Not the one with my name in it.
Nope. Negative. All right. Let me see. Nope. It should be in the frame. I put it in the frame.
Oh,
It got out the
that's
frame?
weird. How did that happen?
How did that happen? It's
Yeah.
the
I don't
ghost
know.
of the building. The
I
part
know,
is
right,
ghost.
right. Be careful, Tim. Don't mess it up.
You took it out of the frame.
No, I didn't. I put it in the frame.
No, you didn't. You took it out.
So we're
Wow, okay.
That is not what had happened.
Yeah, you said. Oh,
Stick it in there, Tim. Be careful. Don't wrinkle it up.
Apparently,
Don't
I
wrinkle it up.
goofed.
That's okay. You're good. I'll give you.
How
I'll let you
did I
slide.
do that?
I don't know. There's no reason to take it out.
There was no reason, unless I thought it was the other one.
The other one didn't fit, and you were going to try to fit it in there correctly. Whatever. But look, it's done. I'll give it to Datha here. So Datha,
Don't hit me in the head with it now.
make sure it's the back. Make sure the back is. Did he push the back?
he
No.
did. He
Okay.
clipped the clips. I was watching.
So this was ready before, but the Poitras Ghost totally fixed this for us. Yeah.
Julian
Okay, so
Marcus.
Datha, go ahead and read it. Show it to him and read it to him.
It is a blah, blah, blah. Start that over again. Strike 2. Certificate of recognition. This award is given to Lieutenant Ken Albarez for your excellence in public safety and life-saving actions on July
like
29th,
that.
2019.
Dave, is that really
Exactly.
your signature?
That certainly is.
That
It's on my
is.
driver's license.
That is so cool.
Thank you.
That
It's
is
all
so
in
cool.
there somewhere.
Wow. So where's
So-
the D at?
It's all up in there.
So, and Dave, I want to, I just want to say is that, and again, hopefully, I get invited back, and then
Oh, yeah.
definitely,
Oh, yeah.
You'll be
definitely
back.
when you become real famous, and
Right.
there's hundreds of thousands of people watching
Right.
this podcast.
Right. Never know.
You already
So-
got our autographs.
That's right. But I will
never
come
know. I
back.
know,
But
right.
people try. I call it they check you. So you get them to sign a ticket, and they think they're going to sign a check mark on there. But they said that driver's license has your official. And I tell people all the time. So the day that you weren't mad at me when you signed it at DMV,
Right, the way it should be.
like this is how many you just signed. Well, this is my signature. No. According to the state of Louisiana, this is your signature.
That's why I'm glad I
You
know
got this
everybody
check.
over there. I can change mine 100 times. But
Well,
this is
excellent. There
yours.
you go. It's
Thank you
yours.
guys. This is
That's it.
awesome.
Oh
This
yeah,
is
definitely.
awesome.
And once
So-
again, you're receiving this on behalf of the whole team. You're representing the whole team.
Absolutely.
We recognize the Katy Namas, the fire department, Baton Rouge,
City
West Baton
Police,
Rouge,
yes.
Sheriff's Office,
And the Port Allen City Police.
Port Allen City Police.
So
Good
a
job.
buddy of mine that works for the Port Allen City Police actually took the famous photo.
Okay, yeah, I was
and
wondering about that.
he has no problem with sharing it. And again, like I told you guys, I was actually looking at my phone because I was on the phone with one of the news people, and it came across. I'm like, hey, so I'm gonna send you a picture. She was trying to get, because they have the DOTD cams, and she thought she had a
yeah.
picture of it. And I said, oh, that's not a picture, that's a bird.
right.
And
Wow.
I sent her that picture, and she goes, oh, wow.
I took one time. They had a wasp on it. Those cameras are really fun. Them bugs get like
I
right
know.
up in it, and they're like buzzing around. And you're like,
Right.
ooh, up
Yeah.
close and personal.
And
Channel
you know,
twos.
Too
DOTD
close.
actually controls them. And when something like this does happen, a lot of times they will cut the feed.
I
They
was
don't
gonna
want
ask
Oh
you about
yeah,
that.
like when the 18-wheeler they were trying to keep it from dangling off of the bridge, they
right.
cut it because
They'll
I
cut the
watched
feed.
the whole thing.
Right.
Oh, I wanted to see some action.
And then when
Right.
like the president or the vice president comes to town, they'll cut the feed.
Yeah.
They don't want people
Interesting.
watching
Wow.
online.
I was wondering if you could catch like a wreck in real time if you're watching it, like an 18-wheeler.
Oh yeah, if you catch it right on time, because they probably wouldn't cut that.
So they can actually watch it, but they do not record.
Oh,
Yeah.
They do not record. They can actually watch it happening in real time. And the reasoning being is they set that up. From what I understand, the legislature said, because think about it, they would be fulfilling
And
requests
privacy.
for people for lawsuits.
right.
So they said, listen, and a lot of people think that when you see those cameras on the red lights, they're not cameras, they're actually sensors.
Okay,
Now, at some
interesting.
point, they may
Yeah.
turn them into cameras where they can watch what's going on, but they don't record for that reason. And
Interesting.
you can't use them for enforcement purposes. Watch them in the mornings in the city of Baton Rouge around 8 o'clock. No mobile homes are supposed to go through. No wide loads are supposed to go through till after 9 o'clock. but watch how many go
Oh
through.
yeah.
Right.
They don't
Interesting.
care.
That's amazing.
Well, they
Wow.
just, I don't know if they just don't care. They don't
It's
pay
called
attention.
beat the traffic.
Right.
You know, even though you're in a mobile home, you got food supplies. You still don't want to be stuck for 4 hours.
Right.
Exactly. Well, that is amazing. We learned a whole lot and everything, and hopefully
Yeah.
somebody got something out of this show today, which I think you did.
I hope they
And
did.
thank you so much for coming back, and we will definitely have you back.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. I
I can
appreciate
promise you
it.
that. So, all right. So, with us today, if you're just joining us, we have Lieutenant Ken Albarez with the West Baton Rouge Parish Sheriff's Office,
Yeah.
and he recounted his amazing experience in helping to save the life of the dear lady and her dear pregnant lady earlier this week. And so, with that being said, Datha, kind of give one more plug for our friends.
Well, first I was going to say, if you were just watching, be sure to hit the rewind button and watch the whole thing because it was really good.
Yes, it was good. Yep.
So the plug would be for pointcreereporter.com. That would be for Point Creek Banner and also
Yes.
West Side Journal.
Journal. That's right.
West Side Journal. All
Yes.
three of those are awesome
Yep.
hubs for information for whatever you need.
Yes, that's
Check
right.
'em out.
That's right. Check them out. And
Point Creek Banner can be bought at your local retails. The rest of them,
The
one's
rest of them-
online.
I know the Journal is sold in a lot of different stores.
It's sold
as
in
well.
some.
Yes, they
It's
are.
at your local retailers too. Then.
yes, they are. Okay, well,
Cool.
sounds great. So, thank you so much, Lieutenant Alvarez, for being with us. And for Datha Bure, this is David K. Gyro. This has been the Dave K. Show. Everybody have a great and safe weekend. We'll see
Bye,
you
guys.
later. Bye-bye. See you.